I'm totally behind Eddie Jones, as all England fans should be, but it's time to acknowledge that his team are encountering more than a few bumps in the road. They have fallen into an ugly great pothole from which they need to extract themselves as soon as possible. On Saturday morning I predicted England by 1 point, but that was based on my heart, not my head. Ireland were better by a country mile. They were fantastic and have been throughout the tournament, winning games at decisive moments, chasing bonus points and showing the depth of their squad. Hats off to Joe Schmidt. England must accept they have been declining for a year now. They have lost 4 of their last 6 Six Nations matches and were far from convincing against Wales as well. Nor were they great in the autumn internationals, save for a good last quarter against a very weary Australia team. Now England face a 3-test series in South Africa against a re-energized Springboks under a new coach, with New Zealand to follow this autumn and trips to Dublin and Wales in the Six Nations next year. This could all get very messy and leave England stumbling into World Cup year. Eddie and his coaching team must first recognize this themselves. The environment has become too comfortable. I would enlist people from outside the camp who have been there and got the t-shirt to come in with the very specific brief of assessing what has been going on, the process, as Eddie calls it. If a business crashed like this, the board, shareholders and CEO would demand a stringent internal review, and Eddie should relish this forensic examination because it seems there is nobody within his coaching squad or at the RFU with the experience or independence to give it to him straight. This is all about getting England back on track, not apportioning blame. And it's needed now, not after next year's World Cup. One of the things that has staggered me in England's recent history is that the RFU wait until it's too late. There was a high-level inquiry after it went badly wrong on and off the field at the 2011 World Cup, resulting in Martin Johnson going, and the same happened after the 2015 World Cup with Stuart Lancaster being marched out of the door. In both cases the warning signs were there 12 months earlier, but England failed to recognize them. There are 5 areas I would specifically like to look at, but these are the tip of the iceberg. 1. Stop being diplomatic. England have looked tired and ponderous, with many of the players flat and lacking sharpness. England's prominent Lions are struggling, Mako Vunipola and Maro Itoje especially, who were both superstars for the Lions in New Zealand. I thought that back in the England environment, free of club distractions, they might get their second wind, but they didn't. They are far from the only ones who have looked fatigued. How are we handling their workloads, and are the players worked too hard in training? On paper it looked a good idea getting Georgia in for 2 days scrum practice and line out and maul work during the first fallow week of the tournament, but might it not have been better to simply give the guys the week off to recharge their batteries? Eddie's goal for a while has been to get England 20% fitter. What exactly does this mean? It certainly hasn't translated onto the pitch. The final table tells us exactly how fit England are. I was reading that Johnny Sexton, another key man for the Lions, has played half the minutes for Leinster this season that Owen Farrell has for Saracens. Farrell's workload is not going to lessen any as we head to the business end of the club season. I was surprised also to see Itoje playing so many games for Saracens before the autumn series. Test players are valuable commodities and we need to get their preparation right. 2. Too many cooks spoiling the broth? England now have a huge backroom staff of nearly 30. Running a modern-day sporting team is a complicated and intricate business and not comparable to, say, 20 years ago. But what exactly are they all doing, and do they cut across each other? Are there mixed messages and slow chains of command because there are too many voices? Are the players trying to please too many masters? I have experienced the pitfalls of employing a big backroom staff. It is such a fine balance. So it's important to establish what the staff are doing and assess their real value to the team. That might sound fairly dry, but if you have got it wrong, if the setup has become flabby, it's a real issue and not one the head coach would ever admit. 3. Revisit the replacements. Why do England replace Dylan Hartley after 55 or 60 minutes when Alan Wynne-Jones and John Barclay stay on to the bitter end? Where is the evidence that says it pays to remove some of your best players and/or captain with the game still in the balance? Why has emptying the bench become the norm when it is usually your starter who still makes the most vital contribution to the most critical parts of the game? 4. Selection is key. This is the key to all great teams and successful managers, and an area where England looks shaky. Why is Richard Wigglesworth suddenly first-choice scrum half 10 years after his last Six Nations start? Why have England only been training with 2 scrum halves in the squad, which makes no sense? Why, if you bring Farrell to 10, do you not select a second playmaker like Henry Slade to operate alongside him at 12? England looked competitive again in the second half against Ireland when George Ford came on at 10 and Farrell went to 12. Ford hasn't been playing that well, but why is that? And if he was going to be replaced, why not finally give Danny Cipriani a go at 10 with Farrell at 12 to keep the twin playmaker? Look! What is the pecking order at centre where England are still a long way from deciding what they want? What is the thinking regarding the back row? Yes, major injury problems have been challenging, but it has always been a contentious area even when everybody is fit. Is Elliot Daly, who was excellent on Saturday, rather wasted on the wing? Doesn't he need to be closer to the action? 5. Please stop the media circus. Don't think all the controversy last week over Eddie's comments about the Welsh and Irish didn't affect the team. The smallest thing knocks you out of kilter in match week. England just need to rein everything in and quickly. From the RFU demanding England will be the best to Billy Vunipola making comments about how the Lions would have been better with Eddie in charge. That's just not what high-performing teams do. You're talking on the pitch. The first 2 years under Eddie were full of focus and discipline, and all the rhetoric was backed up on the pitch. England have taken a real beating in this tournament and they will be hurting, nobody more than Jones. Hopefully the worst is now behind them. There is no need for panic and overreaction, but now is the time for calm critical analysis. No one knows the future for sure, but the present does give us clues as to its direction.